Hi, and welcome to the show. Well, there's a new business in town, and I bet a lot of you are familiar with it, and I'm sure you'll be wanting to know more about it. And those of you that aren't, I think you'll be anxious to go visit Bierly Brewing. It's a family business, and we have the family with us here today. JP, Amelia, owners, and Felix, and Jamie. Hi, Jamie. Hi. So if the folks go into your brewery, oftentimes Jamie is strapped to you.
He sure is.
And fixture there. So yeah, you can just go get a smile from Jamie.
He loves to smile at customers.
Well, welcome to the show. We're going to have some fun here. At least I know I am.
Yeah.
We're going to talk beer. Well, kids, I just wanted the folks to be able to see your beautiful family.
Yes.
And Grandpa Mike is here, and he's going to take the kids for a walk, I understand. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Have fun.
All right.
Come on, Felix.
Felix loves to see himself on TV. All right, bye-bye. Well, JP,
Yeah.
beer, how'd you come to the idea of, and Amelia, brewing beer?
Well, it started out as a home brewer, actually, kind of on a dare sort of thing. Not really. When Amelia and I were first dating, her father-in-law, who just
Her
left with the
father.
kids, her father, sorry,
Yeah.
who just left with the kids, asked me early on if I had ever brewed beer and if I would like to try. And I did a quick calculation and thought, this would be a great way to get to know him since I think I'm going to know him for a while. And so I said, no, but I'd love to try. And we started brewing beer. And fast forward several years later, and we both were diagnosed gluten intolerant. Both Mike, my father-in-law, and I was. And we started down the road of gluten-free beer before it was even a thing, and on the homebrew scale. And then it turned into a business over a decade, actually. It's been more than a decade.
So a lot of experimentation and development has gone into this.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you developed your own brands.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
you brew it right there on site.
That's
at, let's see where you're at. 11th and Baker.
Yeah.
Right around the corner there.
Yep.
Well, look who's back. All right, well, let's just go ahead. So you did a home brew,
Yes.
and you're having fun, and at some point you just said, we want to make this and sell this.
Yeah, it was
How
kind
did-
of.
That's a big step.
It was kind of a matter of we started getting a lot more friends, and I'm very aware of what liquor laws are in Oregon, and always wanted to stay within the bounds of the law. And so the bounds of the law say that you can make it, but you can only make 250 gallons a year as a home brewer. That was never a problem, but you can never, ever, ever sell it. And I had friends saying, how much money can I give you? And I would say, you can give me no money because this is a gift. And they'd say, where can I buy this? And I'd say, you can enjoy it because I made it for you. And that only lasted so long before people started saying, hey, we want you to make this so that we can buy it. In 2012, I did a 9-month internship with Rick and Lisa Allen at Heater Allen Brewing here in McMinnville, kind of to see the ropes, see what the economics of brewing were. That was a great boot camp for me. And they make wonderful beers. If you've not had them, you should try them. I was diagnosed gluten intolerant while I was working with them, so I can say that Heater Allen beer smells awesome. It smells
okay.
really good. But I didn't taste any while I was there.
So there's quite a bit to be able to become a brewery and get
Yeah.
licensed and sell. There's all kinds of different departments and state departments that get interested in
Yes. Yeah.
that. Just give us a rundown about what those hurdles.
Yeah. So there's really, for us in McMinnville, there's 3. Because the city doesn't require a business license, at least as far as I can
Not yet.
tell at this point.
Pretty
Yes.
soon.
Yeah. Oh, no. But the state liquor license, the OLCC, I have to have a liquor license through the OLCC. My license is a brewery public house. That comes with certain responsibilities and rights. It's also quantity based. I can only brew up to 5,000 barrels and then a year, and then I have to have a brewery license, which costs a little bit more money, comes with different rights and responsibilities, ability to sell things like that. There's the federal government, that's the TTB. Most people will recognize that by their old name, the ATF, yeah. Now
Oh, I
it's
do
the
recognize
yeah.
ATF. I don't recognize
So,
TTB,
ATF
TTB.
was alcohol, tobacco, and firearms.
which is a
and-
interesting combination.
Yes,
Yeah.
and TTB is the tax and
It's
trade
the
bureau.
it's the Tobacco and Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is what it is. I think they took firearms off
Yeah.
and changed the initials to TTB.
Okay.
And then, of course, there's the Oregon Department of Agriculture. We have to have a license for a food production facility from the Oregon Department of Agriculture.
Well, congratulations for
Thank
getting
you.
through all of that.
Thank you.
And now you have an open brewery where people can come and drink beer, obviously, but also just see right there how you do it.
Yeah.
Get the tour.
Yep.
And you start with grain.
Yeah, in some cases, gluten-free, we have there's no one grain that's a direct replacement for barley. So we're using a bunch of different grains to mimic in different styles, mimic the style that we want. So in some of our beers, like Felix Pilsner, that is actually made with sorghum syrup and brown rice syrup, a little bit of candied sugar. And so that's,
Are you giving away trade secrets now?
no,
'Cause this
no,
sounds
no.
like-
It's all on the
It says
label.
right on the label.
Seems like amazing development you've done to create beers that taste like they're made with barley, but they aren't.
Yep,
In
absolutely.
very nuanced ways. Okay, excuse me, I interrupted. What's next?
So the Amber IPA also uses sorghum, but doesn't use brown rice syrup, and instead uses a little bit of table sugar to blunt some negative aspects and trick the palate a little bit into not knowing that there's sorghum in the beer. That's actually not a trade secret. Some people may think it is, but we give that information away very easily, and it's published on several websites. We use a ratio of 7 pounds to 1 pound, sorghum to sugar. We have beers like the Sunflower Dream, which use malted millet and malted buckwheat. We also have batches that use a malted rice product. Everything is manufactured in the United States. My only one ingredient that's not I buy some cacao nibs that come from places that grow cacao nibs, and I also use fair trade equal exchange cacao nibs.
Cacao. Where do we know that from?
That's a raw chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that goes
Okay.
in the border.
that's in the porter. Yeah.
Fantastic. We didn't get down to this one, did we?
And then the brewed IPA is also sorghum, and it has actually honey in it. That is true source honey.
Now, you brought this to taste, right?
I did.
And it's cold, isn't it?
It
And it's
is.
only getting warmer.
That's right.
So what, can we dig in?
Let's get
Yeah,
started.
absolutely.
All right.
We
Now-
also brought some pretzels and some donuts.
Well, while we're on this, Amelia, maybe you'd like to talk about your menu.
Sure.
Because you come in, you had a special deal there where you're able to have children there.
Yes. so-
Because?
Exactly, because of the food that we have. So the OLCC has different regulations for where minors can be, how long minors can be there. It was really important to us that kids were allowed into Bierly Brewing all the time because
Yeah.
of our own kids, our friends' kids. We wanted it to be a family-friendly place. So many kids are being diagnosed with celiac and gluten intolerance. We wanted it to be available to everybody. So because of that, we brainstormed what food goes well with our beer.
And this is gluten-free,
All gluten-free.
pretzels, donuts.
Yes, and I make all the baked goods from scratch. And the pretzels and donuts are also dairy-free, which is helpful for a lot of people because there's a lot of people who also have a problem with dairy, either the lactose or the casein in dairy, when they have a problem with gluten.
Okay. We started with,
The Felix Pilsner.
okay, remind us again what's in here.
So this is sorghum, brown rice,
Brown rice
and
and
a little bit of candied sugar.
Candied
Yeah.
sugar,
And
okay.
hops, yeast, water, all those things.
Here we go, huh?
So, yeah.
Okay.
Prost.
Okay. I'm detecting maybe some yeast on top of that.
Mhm.
Is that a way to describe that?
Sure.
That's very easy drinking.
Absolutely.
I don't get a lot of, it's not bitter, there's not a, an aftertaste, it's just very warm. I would almost call it buttery.
Okay.
Well, that's just me. Maybe I'm coming more
Like
from wine than
smooth.
beer. Smooth, yes.
Yeah, not like
Not a
butter.
butter flavor,
But not a butter flavor,
the
but
texture.
smooth.
Yes.
Yeah,
Smooth,
yeah.
that's a better
yeah.
way to put it. Now maybe I should wash a little crema donut down.
Yeah?
Please
Yes,
do.
okay.
So these are our cinnamon sugar mini donuts.
Uh-huh.
And I fry all the donuts fresh to order. And we have a donut special every week. Sometimes we do like chocolate covered with peanut butter glaze, that kind of thing.
Now I have to say, gluten-free.
Yes.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Congratulations. So this is another part of the recipes you've developed.
Yeah, a lot of what I have done is from cookbooks that I've used over the years. I've been celiac my entire life, so growing up, there was a lot of experimentation with different flour blends, different cookbooks. There wasn't a lot in the 80s and 90s, so it's gotten a lot better. There's one particular cookbook that I love called Gluten Free Artisan Bread in 5 minutes a day. It's part of a series of artisan bread in 5 minutes a day, and that's where I get a lot of my base recipes for the pretzels, the donuts, baguettes, pita bread that I do at the brewery, and then I just kind of experiment with what else works, make them dairy-free, kind of thing.
Now, there are some, you do nachos? Did you
Yeah.
say that?
Nachos. We also have a sausage and cheese plate.
Yeah.
Different sausages, different cheeses, mustard, baguette slices, and a hummus and pita plate.
So you can go expecting to eat there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just taste the beer, it's have a meal.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, we have snack options, meal options, and dessert options.
Wow. Okay, well let's finish this one.
Way ahead of you, Ken.
Smooth. Yeah, that's very nice.
It's one
Very
of our
nice.
big
Goes down.
sellers for the summer.
Okay,
You
yeah.
can imagine how refreshing that is on a hot day.
Yes.
We do brew it all year round, though.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
The Pilsner.
The Pilsner. So
All right.
generally, the key to our labels are if you see a white label,
Yeah.
it's going to be one of our flagships. We do 4 that we do year round. If you see a gray label, it's generally a limited release. It says on the bottle limited release, and we actually write the name of that beer on every label. These are super small quantities, like generally 15 gallons. That's about a half barrel. And then we have a new one that we're trying out, which we'll have at the end, that's the Brewed IPA, and that's actually our first white label that's a seasonal release, and it says it right on the label right there, seasonal release. And that's kind of the key to our labels. Each one has a different meaning. Our labels and our logo were both designed by another McMinnville company, Nectar Graphics, and Andrea LaRue.
Terrific. And this one now is sorghum and sugar.
Yes, an amber
Okay,
IPA.
7 pounds to 1 pound.
Yep.
All right. And amber, yes, much more
Prost.
amber. Is that where it gets its name? Because
Yes.
the color?
It's the color.
All right. I can get fruitier, grapefruit maybe even.
Mhm.
Yeah, it has a citrus flavor to it. I haven't had this one in a while.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Very nice, very nice. That's a little more cleansing of the palate. What would you call that? I don't know.
More hoppy,
Yes,
since
definitely.
it's an IPA,
Mhm.
but it's not aggressively hoppy.
No.
Right.
No, that
This
one's
this beer, I actually developed the recipe in isolation. I locked myself in a room and made this one. This actually was the first IPA that we released a few years ago. At the time, I was only doing beer in kegs on tap for a very few number of restaurants. And all my customers said, we want an IPA, we want an IPA. There's number one request. And at the time, I was making a blonde and a wit and the Pilsner.
And where's the IPA?
And where's the IPA?
Crying out for IPA.
Right. And one of the things that I taste when I experience a really bitter IPA is that it tends to overwhelm my palate to where I can't taste the food that I'm eating, and so that steak that I may have paid a little bit of money for, like a great Golden Valley brew pub steak,
Yeah.
I can't taste it. And so I tried to go more towards the floral end of an IPA rather than the overwhelming piney, resiny end of an IPA.
Yes.
And went with amber IPA. It originally was going to be a dark IPA. I ended up liking it better at this color, the amber, and that the malt that I use in that is blunts that initial hop attack a little bit.
And the main ingredient is sorghum.
Yes,
Amazing what you've done.
thank you. Thank you.
You've really done something here, JP. This is amazing. This is great. All right, now tell me about pretzels.
So pretzels,
Yeah.
we serve all the time. Sometimes I run out, which is very sad, but I'm trying really hard to keep ahead of the demand.
So you
They're-
mix the dough.
I mix the
You
dough,
roll it
roll them
out.
by
You do the
hand,
little twisty whip dip dip.
twist it,
Put
yeah.
them in.
Yeah, and
And she's the only one who can do it. I've tried.
Uh-huh.
I can't get it yet.
it took me a long time to get it to. I'm still working on it. Every batch is better.
Fresh, local,
yeah.
gluten-free. And I'm going to dip this in some mustard, right?
Yeah, so we have a whole grain and then a spicy brown mustard. Or
Ken, it's
not
very
brown, but a
interesting to
stone
see
brown.
which part of the pretzel that you went for.
Oh, and what does that say about me?
It must say something. It must say something. I'm an end guy. I
Oh,
really
okay,
like
I went for the loop.
The end, and you went for the loop.
Uh-huh.
Try,
All right.
You're gonna go with the loop
I'm
too?
gonna go with the
And
side. Yeah.
this is the,
That's the stone
brown.
ground mustard, and this one's spicy brown.
okay.
And
you
that's a
have-
Beaver brand, so made in, well, Beaverton, Wilsonville, I can't remember.
All
where
right,
their
and you
facility
have
is now.
10 different kinds of mustard.
That's
Yes, I
right.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the one you were reading to me over the phone, and you said, which one do you want? And I said, oh, the pepper ghost sounds good.
The
And you
ghost
said-
pepper.
Or ghost pepper. And you said, that's really hot. When
Yes.
I thought pepper, I thought black pepper. Well, that's interesting. No, it's jalapeno or whatever. So
Yeah.
It's a ghost pepper. The
you
one
eat
that's
that,
famous for being very
it's so
spicy.
hot, you become a ghost. I thought, let's not do that on air, watching me cry. So,
And next week here on Local Matters,
oh my.
the
that's good.
ghost.
So these are salt crystals on top.
Yeah, special pretzel salt.
Mm.
And we toast them up fresh. The way I do it is I make them and bake them and then freeze them without the salt. Because interesting fact I discovered is that if you freeze pretzels with salt on them, the salt kind of melts into it. And you see these little tiny shiny spots where the salt used to be. So we salt them right before we put them in the toaster to heat back up.
And that sticks for some reason.
Yeah, we add a little bit of water.
Spritz it with a little bit of
Okay.
water.
And
Yeah.
then the salt sticks. And then they come out hot and fresh.
That's great. Well, should we wash this down with something
Yeah,
else?
absolutely. This
I'm gonna
next one
try
is a
this one.
seasonal. It's Sunflower Dream IPL, India Pale Lager.
Sunflower Dream. Remind us of the ingredients again.
So this one's, there was an ingredient before that I didn't mention in this one as well. This one does have a little bit of sorghum in it.
Uh-huh.
It's millet and buckwheat and malted sunflower seeds.
So these are all grains that are gluten-free to begin with. They
Yep.
don't have to remove the gluten. Can you remove
Exactly.
gluten from wheat?
So there are some breweries that do sell what they would call gluten removed or gluten reduced beer. They use an enzyme in the finished brewed product to kind of make the gluten fall out of suspension. There's some debate still how effective that is. Some people who have gluten intolerance or celiac still feel sick after they drink those beers, and some don't. So there's something there that we don't really know about still. There's also a debate over whether the tests that they use to test the gluten content are as accurate as we hope they are. So
Because owing to the alcohol, because of the
Yeah.
presence of alcohol.
Yeah,
And
there's a question
also
of that.
the question of the test, the ELISA test can only detect a complete protein strain. And what the enzyme does is chop it up and hopefully cause it to fall out of solution. But who's to say, because the ELISA test can only detect a complete strain, there could be parts in there. And who's to say that people who are super duper sensitive, that their intestines, their white blood cells and such in their gut can't detect smaller pieces
I see.
as the gluten protein.
So people that are gluten intolerant, celiac, can feel confident coming in that they're not going to get a problem.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, 100%. And
Yeah.
you both being gluten intolerant and celiac,
Yep.
you are the good test.
we know
Yeah,
that-
we're the canaries.
Yeah,
That's right.
wonderful. All right,
Yeah.
remind us again what's in here. This-
Sunflower Dream IPL, millet, buckwheat, a little bit of sorghum, sprouted sunflower seeds.
And you came up with these ingredients, like, I'll try these, and then the amounts. That must have taken a lot of experimentation.
It does take a fair amount, yeah, and testing too.
Okay, that is not as hoppy, I would say, as the one before, as the IPA, correct?
You know, beer is like wine, can be like wine. It can take on different characters on different days. I
Uh-huh.
would say that this is a little less bright than the amber IPA is
Yes,
right now.
that's bright. You've
Still
got the
hoppy,
words.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
but still hoppy.
Okay.
And this one also uses, this is the idea of what would an IPA be like if a German brewed it. So we used three German hops typically associated with German beers. We used the Czech Satz hop, which is famous for Pilsners. We used German Kalista hops, and we used a Hallertauer Blanc, which is a pretty new hop. That's like the melon flavor in there, is the
Melon
Hallertauer.
flavor, now that you mention that, yes. And I'm left with that flavor on the sides of the back of my tongue are left with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That flavor. Interesting,
Yeah.
interesting. So I just got another layer of complexity, not only I think you mentioned 5 ingredients in this one, and the percentages of each one, but then what hops you use and how much of each one, and
Yep.
and then there's all kinds of processing decisions.
On the yeast too. Yeast is one of the biggest flavor components of
Oh.
a beer, is the yeast that you use to ferment it. Because beer is nothing without yeast. It's hop tea. Without yeast, it's sugary hop tea until the yeast goes in.
So the complexity here, it really makes it an art. It's not cut and dried, oh, you just do this, this, and this, and then you get what people expect in this, with this label on it. Any of these labels can have a entirely different taste behind it, a Pilsner or an IPA. Whether you just, okay,
Yeah.
there's a whole world behind each one, sounds like, that people can mess with the variables and it comes out a little different.
Absolutely.
So I'm thinking that you think, oh, I like this one beer. I go in, I have this beer. It may change over time, perhaps. Is
Yeah.
that true?
And also, JP loves to experiment.
Uh-huh,
So
uh-huh.
at any given time, the Felix Pilsner on tap may be a variant that uses more grain or less
Uh-huh,
grain.
uh-huh.
On tap.
Yes.
When you see it in the label and it's in the store, that's the same recipe all the time.
Okay.
They're very
And
consistent.
seasonal variation and crop variation can cause it to vary a little bit.
Yeah.
But in the commercial space, on the commercial side of brewing, one of the things that customers expect is that the beer is going to be the same all the time.
Okay.
And so that's what we endeavor to do.
But you can always go in for an adventure of what's on tap.
Absolutely. I just blew the keg. It means I just ran out of a variant of the Felix Pilsner where I took out the brown rice syrup and instead I mashed pale rice, the whole rice, extracted the sugar from it and put that into the beer instead of the syrup, the pre-extracted syrup. So that was just a little bit different character.
Yeah.
And I'm doing that because I'm actually maybe going to modify the recipe slightly. We'll see. I might do it. I might not.
We still have to do some blind testing.
We talk about this all the time. Is I say, hey, I want to eliminate this beer, or
do this one anymore.
I want to change everything about this beer, and Amelia says, no.
Everybody loves it.
Blind tasting with who?
Whoever's in at the time.
Really?
We do
Yeah,
that.
that's
I also have a couple friends. Ben Ackard, he's the head brewer over at Evasion Brewing here, also dedicated gluten-free in McMinnville. I take things to him sometimes and have him give me feedback. I have a friend who used to be up at Ghostfish. He was the founding brewer at Ghostfish. His name is Jason Yerger. He's opening up his own place up in Portland. He comes down and tastes through things. My friend Brian Kolazinski, who owns glutenfreehomebrewing.com, lives down in Ashland. We exchange beers. I exchange beers mostly with rice malt in them with Jim Eckert, who's the rice maltster down in Chico, California. So, and then I'm going to take a bunch of my beers to the first gluten-free brewery, professional gluten-free brewery conference that a bunch of us are going to have at Holidaily Brewing in Golden, Colorado in October. And I'll get feedback on different beers I'm working on and things like that from commercial.
Well, gluten-free beer is kind of a thing because maybe you're gluten intolerant, but people come in and they don't care whether it's gluten-free or not.
That's right.
They want to have good beer,
Yep.
Yeah.
and they keep coming back.
Yep.
So you're serving two different kinds of clientele. So like, sometimes you can tell when something's gluten-free, and I can't on this, and the same with the beer, so,
Thank you.
yeah, that's great. When someone comes in, they tell us about some of the decor you've done. You've done some amazingly creative things. Maybe we can't really talk about it, but there's your bar.
Here's our bar. That's a solid piece, about 2¼ inches thick of redwood that was harvested down in Salem. I bought it from a family that harvests those things locally, and it's got a live edge on one side. These are my cousins who are our hand models here. And all I did was seal that with a waterproof sealant, tung oil, so that's all natural. And I sand it down. I'm probably going to sand it down once a year and reseal it. That's on top of our bar. We have a friend who I traded some brewing equipment with for design help, Chris Benham. You and I both know Chris. He's the shop manager, is that right? Stage manager?
Set designer.
Set designer at
Yeah,
Pinnacle Theater.
full time.
Yeah, runs the shop down there. We have and I'm not sure if I brought a picture. I think I have a picture of this. Behind the bar is a exploded wine barrel, very much like the wall at Nick's or the walls up at Brooks Winery. They overlap and kind of have a basket weave look to them. And I love it. I love those nachos.
I don't think it's.
I don't think I have that one.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
And then in some pictures, you can see a rusted wall that has our logo on it behind one of the tables.
That was a whole process of
Yeah.
making that sign.
JP took a plain metal thing.
Plain
sheet.
a piece of 20 gauge, just steel, cold rolled steel from Newberg Steel and Fabrication. I had him put a little edge on the top of it so that I could hang it on the wall, and I laid it on the brewery floor and actually poured Felix Pilsner on it and let it sit for a week and rust. And it made these two really nice organic patterns, but it wasn't quite rusty enough for me. So I looked on the internet, I searched for it, and I used a solution of hydrogen peroxide, salt, and white vinegar, which pickles and removes the mill scale, the protective part of it, and then a propane blowtorch to dry it off in between layers, and rusted it the rest of the way in about 45 minutes. So
You had a great time.
It was a
You
lot of
created
fun.
a piece of art. So my point is about all this.
Yeah.
When people go in, they'll be, be able to see your creativity in the exploded wine barrel, the bar, the sign. And then if they take the tour, they're going to see how you really did some mechanical miracles with all of the pipes and the cooling and the heating, and how you maybe instead of a $10,000 piece of stainless steel, you made it with a cooler, and with valves and pumps and gauges and temperature sensors that kick on and off, and you've fooled a air conditioner to refrigerate all the way down to how much?
one goes all the way down to 36. That
Yeah.
keeps the
Yeah.
fermenters cool.
Yeah.
Not at 36, but that gives some temperature buffering in there. And then the other one is our cold room, and that's 39 degrees.
Yeah.
With an air conditioner.
So just appreciating your research into how to do all the components of this, the art, the flavors, the mechanics. It's an amazing experience just for that, let alone the great food and beer. Well, we've got one more.
Yeah, we got one more, the Brute IPA. Let's
Oh my gosh, we're almost out of time.
get that in here. This is a seasonal, going to be on the shelf soon.
This is a newer style of beer. The idea is that it's very dry and has a very light feeling. So the brute in the name is the same word that you would find in like a champagne.
So high hop aroma, low hop bitterness, dry finish. Low body beers are very trendy right now across the beer industry.
Low body light, it's just
Light,
very
yes.
light, yes. Wonderful. Well, I knew we needed an hour and a half. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And yeah, you've just given notice on your day job.
That's right.
And this is going to become full-time.
Yep.
Wow. Thank you so much
Thanks
for
for
being
having
here in
us.
McMinnville and doing that.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.